Coming up on The Returned.
It was June of 2016. I remember that night, it was quiet. I was like, it's never been this quiet. Like, you could have literally heard a pin drop. I felt this pressure and this heat in my face. And I started like spitting out my teeth. I jumped up and I've been shot. And I started running back to the house, put my hand on the door. I heard the kids in there, don't come out. We've been shot, call for help. I just felt like the bullets just piercing my body.
Hi, and welcome to The Returned. The truth always follows you back. Hi, and welcome to The Returned, a place where we share near-death stories, out-of-body experiences, spiritual awakenings, signs from spirit, and the journeys of healers and lightworkers from around the world. Today, we share space with Kimberly Davis. In 2016, she was shot 5 times and pronounced clinically dead. Had a near-death experience where she encountered light, darkness, and a third place she still struggles to fully describe. Kimberly, welcome to The Returned.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Kimberly, we don't have to keep this long, but before we step into your experience itself, I
Mhm.
like to ground the audience in who you are. So, who were you before your turning point? And did spirituality or religion have a role in your life at that time?
Before my shooting, I grew up in a Baptist household. So, I knew God. Um, and I was a mother, I was a girlfriend, and I worked. I feel like I lived a pretty simple life. All the things that we're supposed to do and that we are told to do. Before my shooting, I would say that like I said, I was just probably what we all do. We go to work, we raise kids, we're a mother, we're a daughter, we're a sister if we have that. And
That's
then
right.
after my shooting, that's when my spirituality and God became real to me. And it was because of my experience. Like, I knew him before, but I didn't have a personal relationship with him.
I see. Okay. Well, that probably played a good part in your shooting,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you can transition us right in to 2016, where your life was actually changed forever.
Right. So it was June of 2016. I went to my sister. I got off of work that day and we decided that we wanted to take the kids to the lake after work and stuff because it was hot. It was June. So we went to the lake and, we stayed out there all day. And I just remember because I love to see the sunset over the water. That is just something that I've always loved. And I would ask my sister every time we went to a beach or to the lake, but I would be like, sis, like, let's watch the sunset. And she'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that. But this time when I asked her, she was like, yeah, we can. And I just remember joking with her. I was like, are you serious? So we did that. Then we stopped and got some pizza for the kids. And we went into her home. We took showers. It was her birthday. And we went to sit on her back porch. And I just remember that night, because in her neighborhood it's not like really quiet. And I remember saying to her, I was like, because the quietness was so
Hmm.
like it was just loud. It was quiet, but it was so loud because I was like, it's never been this quiet. Like, you could have literally heard a pin drop. And I was like, that is so weird. And at when I said you could hear a pin drop, that's when I felt this pressure and this heat in my face. And I started like spitting out my teeth and stuff. And I jumped up and I was like, I've been shot. And I started running back to the house to try to get in. But when I put my hand on the door, I heard the kids in there, So I was like, I can't go in here because I didn't know if the people were
Right.
going to follow me and go in. So I remember closing the door back and yelling at the kids, like, don't come out. We've been shot, call for help. And that's when I just felt like the bullets just piercing my body. And I remember falling and I remember asking God, I was like, God, like if these bullets don't stop, like I'm not gonna make it. And it felt like it instantly just stopped. And in this time, while I'm laying there, and I say God don't make any mistakes because at the time I was in nursing school. So I could tell that I was like strangling off my own blood. And I was like, okay, I have to position myself to get in a place where the blood can drain out versus going back in. So, and I remember laying there on the cement and and it was just like my like I was just like, okay, you gotta my heart felt like it was just beating out my chest, like just beating out my chest. And I was like, you gotta slow your heart rate down. In my head, I'm thinking these things, you gotta slow your heart rate down, you gotta labor your breathing and all these things. And then just all of a sudden I was like hovering and looking like down at myself. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, and then I heard this guy, he said, Kimberly. Kimberly. And then I was back in my body and he just kept asking me questions. And I'm assuming I was answering because he was like, what is your kid's name? And I'm assuming again, like I was dozing out and in because I could hear him say, stay with us, stay with us. And I heard him say, the others has passed away. She's still alive. Get her some help. And in this time, I was like, okay, God, like I'm going to fight as long as you tell me to fight. But God, I need a sign when my fight is over and your fight will begin. And in this moment, when the EMS got there and they pulled me onto the stretcher, I remember they was wrapping my head and I remember reaching for the EMS hand and I was like, please don't let me die. And he said, if you can make it to the hospital, you won't die. And in that instant, I thought in my head, like, man cannot make a promise like this. This must be God telling me my fight is
That's
over.
right.
So I just let go. And I just remember like hearing like a helicopter sound. But these next accounts are what my mom told me because of course I'm clearly out. But my mom said the first hospital they got me to, they were working on me, they were working on me. Then they came and told the family she didn't make it. And she said, they walked back in, everybody was upset, da 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 da. And then they came back and said, no, she's still here, but we have to transport her now or she's not going to make it. And I'm assuming that's when they flew me to Savannah, Georgia. And from there, I don't know if I started the journey when at the first hospital or did I start the journey when I made it to Savannah. So at this time I heard my mom say that you are closer to God than any of us right now. So you need to tell him what you need. So I started this journey and the first place I went, it was this beautiful garden. Oh my God. It was so beautiful. And I was walking with Jesus and we were holding hands and it felt like we was there forever and we was having this conversation. And I remember just looking as we were walking at like the trees and the flowers and just the colors. It was just so vibrant. Like the colors was so vibrant. It was just and it was this sense of peace. Like, oh my God, it was just, oh. And I remember looking down at Jesus's hand and I was like, and trying to look at his face, but I could not see his face. And he said to me in that moment that I had to go to hell. And I was afraid. And I was pleading with him. I was like, I don't want to go to hell. I thought I was like, because when I got shot, I wasn't walking with Christ. I wasn't really religious like that or anything. And I was like, I don't want to go to hell because all the things that I heard about hell is this horrible place. and he told me I had to go to hell. And by my ankle, I got pulled down to this place. And it was the oddest thing to me for a long time because when I got there, it wasn't the hell that I've heard about. It wasn't the flames and these other souls there. It was me and these things like they I, they put you in a mind of shadows, but they were darker and they were thicker than a shadow. And it was like I was inside of this glass box, and it was just like in the center of it, it was a chair, and I was strapped to this chair. And these beings or whatever they was just torturing me in this. It was just torture. And I remember crying out to God, and I couldn't hear him in this space. But when I cried out, I went to it was another space, and the way that I describe it is, it was almost like flowing lava. And it was so dark, and I seen this. I didn't see any souls or people in the lava. I just seen it. It was just like a stream flowing. And I remember I was asking, I was like, "What is this?" And when I got that out my mouth, I went to this place. It looks like a cliff. And I remember looking over, and it was the darkest dark that I had ever seen in my life. And that's when I heard Jesus's voice again. He said, I could not go there because I wasn't dead. And then I went to a place of nothingness. And in this place of nothingness, I don't know how to explain nothingness except for nothingness. No form, no color, no nothing. And I heard my oldest son, he was calling me mom. He was like, Mama, Mama, Mama. So I started running and running and running, trying to get to his voice in the direction that I heard him calling me. But it was like no matter how hard I ran, no matter how long I ran, I couldn't reach him. And I remember I just got tired and I stopped in Indian style. And it's a lady that I knew. She just kind of popped up in front of me and she disappeared. And I just remember I was like, God, I was like, I'm tired. I can't do this. And this is the part. Oh, I am so I'm just having a lot going on. I'm sorry about that. But this is the part that puzzles me. I went to this place. It was like a room full of computers. It was so many computers. And it was these shadow beings. They were tall. They were so tall. And it was so many of them. They were surrounded me in a circle. I was in the dead middle of it. I just remember looking around in the room and I was like, what is this? Like, I've never heard of this. Like, nothing ever in my life, nothing that my religion has ever spoke of anything like this. I didn't know what was going on. And it was just so many of them surrounded me. And one of them stepped out and they asked me, they say, do you want to go to the beyond or do you want to go back? And in that moment, all I could think about was my kids and how I couldn't leave them. And I said, I want to go back. And the being said, if you go back, you will suffer. And it just stepped back into the rest of the beings that had me surrounded. And after that, I woke up out my coma. And it was 10 days later.
Oh my goodness. Um, how, yeah, I don't know anything. I've never seen something like that before myself. That must have been something, and no wonder you can't figure out what that was.
Because I talked to so
So,
many people and I
yeah.
asked them, they were like, you was given a choice. I was given a choice. They was like, oh, when I had my experience, I wasn't given a choice. And like, I was like, whatever it was, like, it gave me a choice to go. And it said specifically, it didn't say heaven. It didn't say another life. It said to go to the beyond or go back. And I tell people like, I was given the choice, like, and I chose to come back.
When Kimberly, when you were first hovering above yourself,
Mhm.
did you see did you have a body?
I did.
Do you remember you did? Yeah, and then when you went and you were up with Jesus, did you have a body then too?
I don't, and that's the thing, like, I don't know, like, I wasn't able to see myself. I just knew, like, we
Mhm.
were walking. I could tell that we was walking, and I could tell that we were holding hands. But to say if I had a body or not, I can't honestly say that.
So, you actually experienced 3 different realms in in 10 days, I guess, you
Mhm.
would say. But you wouldn't know how long you spent in each. Did you
I
feel like time wasn't, slow or fast? No?
I felt like when I was with in the garden with Jesus, like, I felt like time didn't even exist. I felt like when they told me I was only in a coma for 10 days, I couldn't believe it because it felt like I was in that garden with him for so long. Like, it felt like I was there forever. But after the garden, it was just like it went, it went, it went, it went. It was like I could tell like it was moving faster than when I was walking with him. It was like time didn't even exist there. It was just like we were present. Like we were just there. And I that's the best way I can explain it.
And when you were with Jesus, I know you couldn't see his face, but did you see the rest of him? Did he have a tunic or what was he wearing?
And I ask myself that all the time. I'll be like, for this till this day, I still can't say because I remember looking at his hand and thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm finna see what color Jesus is." You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna see, but I remember just looking at his hand and looking at him, and I just saw like I didn't see like his garment. I didn't
Mhm.
see any. I just remember looking and seeing his hand. And the weirdest thing about looking at his hand, I cannot describe the color today. I've never heard of a color. I never seen a color that would describe the hand that I was holding. Like it was just, ooh, it was just, and I remember looking at his feet, and I'm like, I can't explain it. Like I didn't see a garment. I seen his hand, and I remember looking at his feet, and I couldn't even tell you if he had on a pair of sandals or not. Like I
Mhm.
just remember seeing his hand and his feet.
How did you feel in that space with Jesus?
I tell people to take their happiest moment and times the biggest number that we have here, and it wouldn't even amount to what I felt. Like it was just I've never I can't even explain it, but the closest that I can get to it is take your happiest moment times the biggest number. It still won't amount to what I felt in that moment, but it would give you a sense of what I felt.
Would you be able to describe that as unconditional love?
If I had to describe it, maybe that is. I never thought about it that way. Maybe that is exactly what it was. Because it felt like peace, serenity,
Mm.
joy. It just felt like all those things wrapped up in one and just in this, it was almost like an embrace, but not like a squeeze, just like you feel, sometimes you can feel joy and it can come like a little overwhelming. But I felt all of this and it was like the most warm embrace that I have ever experienced. Like, oh my God. I wish I had better words to describe it, but I
You
don't.
don't have to. It's okay. Yeah, we get it. We get it. And so, in the whole experience, in all the realms that you went to, did you carry any fear at all?
No, Not, and that's so crazy now that I'm thinking about it.
Mhm.
Even when I was in hell and seeing that, there was no fear. I did feel in those places, especially when I was inside that box. I felt anguish, and it was
Mm.
like sorrow. It was like, even with that, those feelings were so amplified. Like the pain of it. It was almost like, "Get me out of here now." Like, I can't take it. I can't take it. Like, cause it was just so heavy. As
Mm.
intense as the
Mm.
love that I felt, it was just as intense when I was inside of that box and these things were torturing me. Like, that pain, that it wasn't physical pain, it was like that pain that comes from the inside, and just the sorrow and the sadness. Oh my God, it was just, mm,
Mm. I was wondering of something. So this just came to me. So you were first in heaven with Jesus in the meadow, and then you went to the hell first before the in between?
yes,
Yes?
yes.
I just thought of something, and you don't have to answer, but I'm thinking when you would be in heaven, right? You would be probably in a higher frequency realm, right?
Mhm,
So then if you were to be pulled down to a different realm that was lower than that would be a total different drop in frequency.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? And
mhm,
then so then you would drop it so that's like almost what I would say. For me, it almost brings up like, were you close to the earth realm? And that hell, is it close to the earth realm? That's kind of
mm.
where it makes me
Wow,
go. Do you know what I mean? And
wow,
then I don't know why I go there, but something about that drop stands out to me. And I mean, I don't have
right,
the answer. So I'm just thinking, right?
right. And I have
So
had people
mhm.
say to me, they was like, they felt like my experience was reversed, because usually people visit the hell first and
Mm,
then they go to the heaven. I was like, I
yeah.
can't tell you the order. All I know is from where I am today in my life that God doesn't make any mistakes and he does everything in order. So the way that I experienced it is for a reason, because he told me when we were in the garden walking together, when I'm fully walking in my purpose, that I will remember our conversation in full. Cause I can only remember like him telling me that I had to go to hell. And then I can only remember him saying I wasn't dead. But as far as the conversation that we had when we was walking in the garden, I can't remember. But my whole goal has been to walk in my purpose. And I feel like I'm getting closer so I can remember that conversation that we had.
Kind of gives you something to look forward to,
It does.
doesn't it?
It does.
So, as you were speaking with Jesus or anybody, did you speak with your mouth or was it more telepathic?
It was definitely, I feel like me and when me and Jesus was talking, because I was thinking in my head, but I could tell that we were having a conversation. So I feel
Mm,
like it was some kind of vocals going on, but again, because I don't know if I was in my body. I don't know if I was like formed like this, or I just remember looking up at him too. And so I don't know if we were talking like in our mind space. I don't know. I really don't
mm,
know. I've never had anybody ask me these questions. So now I have more to think about. So I don't know.
mhm. So many people struggle to understand experiences that involve darkness.
Mm,
So I'm wondering for you, did you come away with any understanding of why that place exists or what it might represent?
yes. I definitely believe. the place of so I with both okay, first with the garden, I understand why I was in the garden and why I didn't go to heaven because I wasn't dead. And the garden, it made me feel like I was because I often thought I was like, was this the Garden of Eden? Was this like was I there? Because like I
Mhm.
don't know. So and then with the darkness, it was like the very thing that you struggle with in the dark. And if you allow yourself to stay in it, is the very thing that you will struggle with in the afterlife with it. Like, and
Mhm.
that's what it was.
That's a really good way to look at it, actually. So if you were to look back now and think or ask yourself, what was the purpose of seeing all three of these realms? Do you know what that purpose is?
I would, I think this is just my opinion. And I
Okay.
think because before I got shot, I remember me and my boyfriend having the discussion. And I remember I said to God on that day sitting in my bed, I was like, if you're real, you're going to have to show me that you're real. I remember saying that and
Oh.
not thinking then what I had just put myself into. I'm like, wow, like, did he not show me who he was? Not only did he show me who he was, he saved my life so I can go back to tell people who he is. And I think he allowed me to see hell because the most significant thing is what you struggle with here on earth. If you do not get it right and walk with God, which He is the light, like you are going to struggle with those things in hell. And one thing that I would say in the space of nothingness, I felt like with that, the revelation of that is like when we leave here and we have no place to go, your holding space is nothing. Like it's nothing. It's
Oh.
nothing. And with the
Mhm.
last little part that I seen with the computers and these
Mhm.
these beings coming out, I still have no clue. Like, cause I'm like, God, like, are you telling me like aliens exist? Like, what is this? Like, cause I just remember seeing like all the computers and then all these things surrounding me. I'm like, what is this specifically? And to this day, I don't know what that was.
So, say he was showing you that. I don't know what he was showing you, by the way. I'm just hypothetically speaking. Um, you actually seen beings. What did they look like?
Like, in in hell, which I referenced to what I seen, they were
Mhm.
like the only thing that I can put into my like it was form, they had a form, but they didn't have a face. It really looked like a shadow, but thicker and darker.
Mhm.
And when I went to the place where I was given this decision, it was like they were really, really, really tall. They were really tall. And again, they were, but I can distinctly, like, I remember feeling like, and when I was in hell, I felt all that sorrow, but in this space, it was no feeling. It was nothing. It was like,
Okay.
I didn't feel
Okay.
sad. I didn't feel happy. It was just nothing. But I also knew like they weren't a threat, whatever these
Oh.
things were. Like I could tell like this wasn't a threat.
Mhm.
So I don't, and again, they were, mm-mm. I wasn't afraid. I was
Mm.
just, it was like I was more like, because religion never talks about this. I had nothing to reference it to from coming from where
Mhm.
I was when I got shot. So I'm like, what is this? Like, and when I came back, I was like, something has been left out somewhere. So that pulled me away from religion and put me on a more spiritual path, because I was like, religion is missing something. I still believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God. That is
Mhm.
my foundation. But I took
Mhm.
religion out of it, and I gained a personal relationship with the Trinity, versus study just listening to what people say. I study the word now. I do my own research, and I build my own relationship with God now, because I know that something has been left out because God showed me. It's a part that we're not talking about
That's right.
because God
Mhm.
has showed me.
Mhm. Oof,
And
I
I
got the
know
goosebumps. Ooh.
when he gives it to me in the full totality of it, it's gonna be amazing. And I know this. So
So you believe, Kimberly, that you need to be careful what you wish for sometimes?
definitely be careful
Right?
what comes out your mouth.
Yes, because wow. So having said that though, it's not funny what happened to you,
Mhm,
but I have told someone, I on a previous podcast, I was talking about something that I was talking to myself about in the middle of the night.
mhm,
Nobody could hear nothing. I was by myself. I was thinking of something and I was like, I don't know. I got insecure of a few things. And then
mhm,
all of a sudden, this voice came booming in.
mm,
And it told me, and I knew it was God. I knew it was. And it said, because it came over top of me, not to this
mhm,
side and not to this side. And I knew, and it wasn't mean, but it was strong. It was bold. It was
mhm,
God. And
right,
he said, you will not stop. You will keep going.
mm,
And I literally pulled out my blankets. I rolled over to the side and I just was like a kid, like, okay, like dad just spoke is kind of how I felt. But that
right,
was the very moment that I realized that I was honestly in the middle of the night talking to who I thought was
mm,
just me. My
amazing,
husband wasn't awake. We have to be careful what we say and also what we say to ourselves, right?
most
But yeah,
definitely,
you're not alone when you're thinking. I can attest to that.
right.
So now that you have been through, well, it was a beautiful experience. Do
Well,
you feel that way?
I do. I tell people all the
Yeah.
time, I was like, I describe it as the best, worst day of my life, because it was horrible because I got shot and because I lost my sister in the process. She did not survive the shooting. So, but in that, I got because but it didn't really happen until 3 years later. That, like in
Mhm.
2019, that's when I really was like at my breaking point, because after I came out the coma and everything and got out the hospital, I just went back to what I knew. I wanted to try to make things normal for my kids. I wanted to not be a burden to the people in my life, because I had a trach, the scar, I had all these tubes and stuff everywhere. So it just caused me to, I had the experience, but I had no time to process the experience until 3 years later, when again I'm in this low spot and I'm like, why did you save me, God? Like, if I literally, and excuse me, like, I mean this, like, literally, if I have to continue to go through hell, like, why did you save me? But then in that moment, I love to say it was just a point of his love again. And he had to just remind me, like, you was given the choice, but I also let you know, like, if you go back, you were going to have to suffer. So kind of put your chin up and you decide what you're going to do at this point. And that's when in 2019, that's when I really started searching for God and looking for his face.
Did you have after effects? Like, did you come back with any type of spiritual gifts?
I would say, I would say, this is a safe place, and I guess if people see this, they will know. Um, I have the ability to see certain entities that are attached to people. I can, I
Wow.
can, I can see, and I, um, I have the power of sight. They say a seer. Some people call it prophecy. Um, and I am very awake in my dreams. I'm aware that I'm dreaming. I can move through that realm just as well as I move through the physical.
Wow. And that's all from your NDE.
Yeah. So I don't have, because, but I said it now. It's out.
Mm,
I,
it's
you
okay.
know, it's okay.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. So, do you feel better saying that?
I do.
Okay. Well, then it's totally okay.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. Good for you, you know? Um, so having said that, is there something that you're doing or any type of training, or do you do this for a living or partly or
Mm-mm.
no?
No,
Are you
not
you're
at
not
all.
no. Mhm.
I just, um, I don't, I guess I would say, like, you're not gonna be able to come to me and say, "Do you see anything on my life?" Like, I don't move like that. If God gives me
Mhm.
something, you know, I honestly, he'll let me know when to release it and not. And certain, especially like if I see different entities that are attached to a person, I'm always going to God first and asking him what he wants me to do. So it's no monetary gain. I'm only here to do God's will. And
Mm,
if he has me
very
release
good.
something to you, I will. If not, I'm not moving on that.
And may I ask, just
Yeah.
to clarify, Kimberly, what does that look like? An attachment? Is that like a bad spirit, or
Most of the
what would that
time,
be
it
like?
is it is definitely like the evilness that is attached to that person. It's that
Mhm.
spirit, or I don't because I follow Christ, so it would be
Yep.
a demonic spirit
Mhm.
that is attached to that
Mhm.
person. It always show itself to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what I'm dealing with. So I know how to pray for that person. I know how to just lay before God about whatever they are dealing with.
And if I was to ask you, why, again, do you think this happened to you? What would you say?
I really think it is to just really tell the world, like, God is real. Like like heaven is a real place, hell is a real place. I know we have all these debates over who God is, what God is, but like Jesus Christ is so real. Like he is real. Like he walked this earth and he did all those things. So I think it's really to inform the world that it's real. He is real.
Where do you think, if I was to ask you, where is heaven, hell, the afterlife? Where do you think that is? Like, is it right beside us? Do you think it's above us, below us? What do you think, in your opinion?
I don't know.
No.
I don't. Even though I
That
experienced all that, I don't know where it was. I don't know.
mhm.
I can give you a general answer, like I believe, like, but as far as I have no clue. I don't know if it's up there in space. I don't know if it's in the surface of the earth. Like I don't know where I was. I just know I was there.
Mhm. And that's good. If I was to ask you, do you fear death now after what you've experienced? What
I
would you
definitely
say?
don't. I don't
No?
fear death because I know that it is something after death. Not only what I've seen, but also with the choice. when they said, "Do I wanna go to the beyond?" I don't know what the beyond is, but I know there is a beyond because I was given the choice to go there. So, that would be my answer to that.
So interesting, your experience. And what if you were to be sitting beside a loved one who was transitioning?
Mhm.
Since this experience and this changed your life, what do you think you would say now to a person?
Well, that's, quite interesting that you asked that. I lost my 16-year-old son in 2024, and
I'm
I
sorry.
would
I'm sorry.
definitely in his transition, I told him, I was like, "Of course, I don't wanna see you go, but if you have to go, I understand, and you're gonna be okay." So I
Oh, I'm
would
so
definitely,
sorry.
just reassure the person that it's okay to let go. You don't have to be afraid.
You know where they're going, don't you? hmm has he ever contacted you?
My son,
hmm
um, I've seen him, like, in a dream, but, other than that, no.
Wow. Have you ever thought that your experience might have been preparing you for that experience?
I definitely feel like I definitely don't feel like God makes any mistakes, and I think His
That's
plan
right.
is so like, it's just so amazing because I think about all the time, like, if I wouldn't have went through that and I still had to go
Mhm.
through the loss of my son, like, my kids wouldn't know God for themselves, and I just feel like it put me in a better position to where my kids had a personal relationship with God. So when my son had to transition, he knew who to call on. He knew what, like, he knew what to expect, even though he might have been afraid, which I'm sure we all are at the end. But I also know that he knew, like, who God was. So that just gives me peace in my spirit, but and it helps me kind of understand, like, God, you really ain't have to take me through all that, but since you did, I'm so grateful because if I wouldn't have went through that, I wouldn't have had the relationship with you that I did, so it can flow down to my kids and he
Yeah,
transition in peace.
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Kimberly, everyone who comes back seems to return with a truth. What truth did you return with that you would want humanity to know?
The truth that I returned with was that you have to make your relationship with God personal. It can't be anything. It has to be between you and him. Nobody else. Just they can't, like, that's the truth. Like, and I guess that religion and all of these other things keep God in a box, and he's so much bigger.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so much bigger than the box that we as a human race had tried to put him in. And we got to break out of that box. That would be my truth that I live by to this day. I no longer put God in a box. And I make my relationship with him personal because I know the Holy Spirit would convict me.
And I have to ask you, for those who feel called to want to connect with you outside of here, are you okay with that?
Yes. I have a book. It's on Amazon. It's called Confessions of a Southern Girl. Don't always judge a book by its cover.
And can you tell us a little bit about that, about the book?
So it goes on, Confessions of a Southern Girl goes into my journey after my shooting and how I went from crystals, all these different avenues looking for God. So it kind of takes you through the journey of me searching for God.
Sounds excellent. And is that all you have? Do you have any services or offerings?
I do on my Facebook page every like I offer retreats. I My thing is I create sacred spaces where people can come in and kind of just let that guard down. So I do retreats. I do Zoom meetings about how keeping faith during grief, how keeping faith no matter what. So I do a lot of Zoom calls, classes like that with dealing with grief. I'm an advocate in the community and different things like that. I have a website.
And oh, wow. Okay. That's excellent. And would you be able to send me all those links so I can
Yes,
make sure that they're in the description box below?
yes.
For sure. And wow, Kimberly, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out and coming and sharing your experience with us. Your willingness to speak about what you encountered beyond the body helps bring understanding to something people quietly wonder about.
And I appreciate you for having me. Thank you so
Oh,
much. Oh,
that's
and
sweet.
also,
You're
if
very
y'all want to
welcome.
find me on social media, I do go by Abundance Davis instead of Kimberly Davis.
And I will make sure I have all that information in the links below. And to all those who are watching and listening, if there's anything you take away from this story today, let it remind us that life may not end where we think it. This experience of light and darkness and a place in between challenges us to ask deeper questions about who we are and why we are here. And maybe the real invitation is this: to live this life with more awareness, more compassion, and less fear.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.